Today we are going to tackle one of life's age-old questions. What is better, manga or anime? For years there have been arguments coming from either side of the debate, with people praising their specific preferred medium for offering up an experience that the other simply can't match. Let's take some time to explore this argument and see if we can come up with some definitive answers once and for all. For the beginning, we'll simply start by defining what anime and manga are. When I say manga, I'm referring to a Japanese style of illustration and graphic novels read from right to left, a distinct difference from the American style comics which are read from left to right. When I say anime, I'm referring to animated TV series or movies that are produced in Japan. To start things off, a distinct positive that manga has going for it over anime is that it allows its readers to move at their own pace. In anime, directors and production teams have full carte blanche over the rhythm and pacing of a story. They determine exactly what you see, when you see it, and for how long you see it. When reading manga though, you have the ability to run through the story at your own pace. You can reread sections, mull over sections diligently, or blow through them at a breakneck speed. It's entirely up to you how you interact with the story being given. I think one thing that I have appreciated about manga as I've gotten older is the fact that it's much easier to ingest a small burst or take breaks when consuming manga versus watching anime. Finding large chunks of uninterrupted time is a rare luxury the older you get, and manga for me at least fits much more easily into my day-to-day than anime has. So in this category, I have to give the nod to manga over anime. On the other hand though, and this is a sentiment that anime watchers always bring up, is their belief that watching anime allows one to see their favorite worlds and characters come to life through the addition of animation and voice acting. Reading manga, much like consuming any book, is a fairly subjective experience. The characters and worlds inhabiting the pages are going to look, sound, and feel different depending on the internal experiences and preferences of the individual reading it, making it so that one person's interpretation of a character or situation can vary wildly from another. But when a world is brought to life in anime, it is much more concrete and many feel it is more immersive, allowing them to watch their story unfold in real time and helping them establish an emotional connection with the character who now has their own unique voice and presentation. Mileage on this one is going to vary for sure, but many give the advantage in immersion to anime, so in the spirit of fairness, we'll give this one to anime as well. This next comparison is going to be pretty different from person to person, and that's price. If I'm going to keep it completely honest, reading manga can be an expensive ass habit. Volumes of manga cost anywhere from $8 to $20 a pop. Generally, when you start getting into the $20 range, it is for books in the omnibus format, meaning they hold multiple volumes of a story in one book rather than being a single volume, which is also known as a tankobon in manga circles. But even with that being the case, it is easy to see how it adds up and becomes quite the investment over time. With the way manga industry works, generally if a story is successful, the publisher wants it to continue for as long as possible and generate the most revenue possible. While it's awesome to have more of the stories that you love running for longer periods of time, this means more and more volumes to collect if you want to stay current and collect the tankobon volumes. I don't mean to frame this as if manga is prohibitively expensive, it's certainly not, but in the spirit of honesty, I do feel that many manga YouTubers don't often talk about the financial investment that comes with being involved in this hobby, and it's absolutely something that one should be aware of before jumping in to start their own manga collecting journey. Anime is a bit different because many watch through streaming services such as Funimation's website and Crunchyroll, so today one does not have to seek to purchase individual episodes or seasons as was the norm in the past when collecting anime. Collecting anime can also become expensive if one seeks to begin buying Blu-rays or DVD box sets of different series, which can easily run you into the hundreds of dollars. I think both anime and manga collecting can get quite expensive, but I feel the barrier of entry is lower for anime, so we'll give it the nod in this category. Something I want to make a quick note of though is that both formats have ways of viewing them that are absolutely free if an individual chooses to go that route, so both mediums can be as expensive or as budget friendly as you choose to make them. Piggybacking off the previous entry, another advantage anime has is accessibility. We spoke earlier about how many popular anime are accessible from easy to find and use streaming platforms, and this accessibility goes a long way in making it easier for audiences to find and watch their favorite shows, wherever they are and on whatever device they happen to use. By that same token, digital manga readers have fairly convenient access to series they wish to watch, but there are unfortunately many series still inaccessible digitally by legal means. And if you are a physical manga fan, this means getting out of the house and hoping that you have a local retailer that actually sells manga somewhere near you, which also means that you will be prohibited by the selection and the stock they happen to have on hand. So if you want to look into reading older or lesser known series, you have to order online and wait for them to arrive, with some carriers requiring restocks to be completed before they will ship your entire order, which means in certain worst case scenarios it can be months before you get your books. And the other unfortunate reality is that if you are into older or less popular manga, these books have often been discontinued. So if you want to get physical copies, you have to look into the secondhand market where there is no guarantee you will find what you're looking for, and if you do, the prices of some of these books are so astronomical, making them prohibitively expensive for many. But one major advantage for manga, and this is one that ends up making some individuals religiously dedicated to reading manga only, is the fact that it is often more detailed and expansive than the anime adaptations of story end up being. Due to the nature of manga being a static medium, it allows for more space to include things such as background information, more well fleshed out character development, and more time and resources being spent on things like establishing the setting and world building. There are many stories out there to this day that never had an anime adaptation scratch the surface of doing the manga's source material justice. Among these ranks will be series like the late Kentaro Miura-san's Berserk and Kaiju Shirai's The Promised Neverland. For a number of series, the manga adaptation is the source material in its purest form. Due to it being penned directly by the mangaka themselves and their team, you are seeing the undiluted vision of what the mangaka wanted their story to be, without interference from directors, investors, committees, and other individuals sticking their hand in the pot and potentially dictating what the story is and is not allowed to be. And while it is true that editors have a great deal of control, a mangaka has a much greater deal of creative control than they do with an anime adaptation. And returning to series like the previously mentioned Berserk, it would be almost genuinely impossible for an animation team to do a one-to-one mirroring of the mangaka's art due to how detailed and expertly penned it is. There are also certain gags, fourth wall breaks, scares, and other pieces of artistic expression that can only be conveyed properly through playing with the format of manga's typical panel layouts, adding another layer of difficulty to adapting some series properly. I also think it's true that a good anime can help elevate the source material. Strong voice actors, appropriate soundtracks, and proper cinematic framing can do wonders in making a work come to life, but the unfortunate reality is, as of this moment in time, it's much more common to see a mediocre or outright bad adaptation of a manga in the source material than it is to find an anime that manages to illuminate or even go beyond the original manga. Give an example of a series that I feel benefited from being an anime as opposed to a manga, I would name something like Samurai Champloo. I firmly feel it is a story that utilizes the strengths of the medium perfectly, taking advantage of the over-the-top visual storytelling that becomes a possibility with animated mediums, as well as being married to a soundtrack that fits so perfectly well with what's going on in the anime that would be truly a lesser series if it was not present. If you want to hear more about stories I believe truly benefited from being an anime rather than a manga, let me know in the comments. And speaking of anime adaptations, another nice thing that manga readers do not have to worry about is the subs versus dubs argument. There's a whole different can of worms that we can jump into one day, but for now we will say that manga readers get saved from having to make this choice that often haunts anime watchers, with some feeling that dubs are inherently inferior to works spoken in their native Japanese, while others feel that reading subtitles breaks immersion and are fundamentally inferior to just having a competent American voice actor play the role so they can focus on enjoying the story. Anime has the ability to use music, voice, and sound to enhance the experience of the audience when used correctly, and these can add a great deal of depth and emotion to a story, but when they miss the mark, they can be a genuine hindrance to the enjoyment of a work, causing certain moments to become confusing or to lose their emotional weight, leading them to becoming a burden on the source material rather than a boon. As you can see from this list, there's ultimately no easy answer to the anime versus manga debate. Anime has the upper hand in regards to accessibility and convenience, and it's also true that anime being a visual and auditory medium can potentially elevate certain stories past what the manga alone is able to do. But the reality is that manga is often the medium that allows the audience to view the artist's purest form of their work. It's typically more expansive and detailed than anime adaptations, with some shows to this day still not having an anime adaptation that properly showcases what it is that makes the original work so special. In the end, I encourage you, the viewer, to spend time with both, as each medium has their own unique strengths and can offer a worthwhile and rewarding experience when given the proper series and a proper chance. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to this video, and I'll talk to you in the next one.